Collage, like any other art form, requires composition, content, and color. And remember, yellow and blue always mix green. I started the channel as a result of the pandemic because everything shut down. I couldn't go to art events, couldn't network with other artists. And I found the constant in my life, regardless of the virus swirling around, was that I still needed and wanted to create. It's a habit. And I know you other creatives out there feel the same way. So today I am just doing that. Just putting something out there, collaging, and having a good time. Because it's fun, but mostly now it's part of habit. Wonderful little graphic of an elephant from World Market. Cost plus. I like it. Don't know if I'll use it in today's collage, probably not, but definitely putting it off to the side. I think I'm going to be working on something more of a minimal today. My minimals are, usually smaller scale. And just grabbing images that interest me. This is interesting. It comes from an old magazine, 1987, and I just love the rainbow thing going on. I'm just going to start cutting that. It is June, it is Pride Month, so it's really appropriate, and I just love the way it looks. Even though the word save is all over the place, that text isn't such a bad thing. So I'll just cut this out. It could work its way into this piece. I think I know what I want to do. I even think I have a name ready for this. I'm going to do a messier cut just to get started here. I can always come back and straighten up the edges. I do that a lot where I simply cut and get the image out, and I can always go back and clean it up a little bit later. See, there's some white edges here. They aren't horrible, but I can fix them later. I was really drawn to these hand images. Again, I'm just going to cut them roughly. Nothing exact yet. I like how they are in different positions of holding something because I might be able to use that to my advantage. Here's a purse. I'm going to do a very careful cut along that index finger. And when I do cuts like this, sometimes I go beyond the actual image and cut into the image so it really eliminates any white lines or other color lines that I don't want in there and just ensures that everything is exact. I do notice when I scan it into Photoshop and I'm looking at it in digital that I can totally see sometimes the white line or whatever color line that was there before, and I didn't do an exact cut, but that's fine. I really love this one, but it might be too big for what I have in mind. Go ahead and cut it anyway. Not exact yet. W Magazine is huge. Didn't even really know about W Magazine until I started doing collage. And my hairdresser was very kind and gave me a bunch of W magazines. which also as a result of the pandemic came into my possession because my hairdresser had to get rid of much of their reading material. We couldn't have it around after the pandemic. I like this, but it might be a little louder than I'm hoping for. Again, another rough cut. I just want the circular image more than anything. And move the model out. Also, I love how it's black and white. It's just a little noisy. I like the limited palette of it, but it might be a little noisy for what I'm thinking about. Can't go wrong with a unicorn. This is really old. This is from the 1987 magazine. A unicorn and the rainbow frame definitely could go well together. Maybe. Cut everything out. Oh, that looks good, actually. It's a nice contrast with the noisier black and white background. I cut this out because I like the flooring. I'm just going to set that off up to the side. And although I use watches a lot in my images, I think what I wanted to do with this one, when I saw it, I just want this outer edge with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I want that. And I'll remind myself of that by just cutting through the middle here. Tighten my X-Acto. I just cut through there so I know what I wanted to do. Another rough cut. Actually, I shouldn't do that. I like to do the more exact cuts first. And I did it up to this line. So pressing down, nice sharp blade. Giving it that edge. It's more exact because it is a shape as opposed to a human or animal form where you can manipulate it a little bit more, get away with it. And I'm going off course a little bit. Instead of coloring in the edges, collage artists, we cut to the edge. And I always had a hard time coloring in the edges anyway when I was a kid. And I have a hard time cutting the edges as an adult and a collage artist. Okay. These might be interesting for another time. Not quite. I can come back and clean it later. Or do it now because it's still, I like doing details with tensile strength around my details before I free it. So I'm just gonna clean that up a little bit. I don't really want it to be recognizable as a watch, especially since I use watches so much in my work. It's my go-to. Okay, just keeping it clean. Let's see. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. Still a little uneven. Clean it so it is even. And try to keep it clean. Actually letting the edge of the blade help me here. So it's not just the tip, but the whole blade that is helping me pull. Pressing down and then gently pulling back. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. Now I will cut it free and it'll be ready to go. It came out pretty good. Look, I can even make it into a bracelet for myself. Might look good with one of these hands. Maybe? What do you think? we have to cut this one free if that's going to be my focal point. This is what I was considering as my focal point, and also this fruit, or this unicorn. I don't know who this actor is. They were in W magazine, and they were, I guess, kind of famous. I'm sure they are. They're more famous than I am. They made it into W magazine. So I am going to cut them loose. Keep their hands. And just do some playing right now. I will also keep the footwear. I like the stance that the model is taking. I think that's kind of interesting, which was one of the reasons why I thought this might be a strong focal point. I was also just thinking as I completely cut this to the edge that, maybe I should do a template and change her jumpsuit. It's a little late now for me to do that. I could still do it, but I would have to trace it on to something else, and I don't know if I'm there today to do that. But her stance is great, and it's her outfit's pretty loud. So that was why when I chose that black and white circular image, I thought, well, maybe, I wouldn't be able to use it. Okay, this one, remember? It's a little loud. So I may not use this for the collage. I did like the way this looked. This might be interesting. So something like this. So I'm feeling happy about that. That feels good. Unicorn, unicorn, unicorn. Let me go ahead and cut everything out. I was also looking at this. I thought that was so interesting, such an interesting look. But I was also looking at this. It's always nice to have this kind of design work going on. Okay, here are my arms that I thought might be a good replacement for the head. However, her arm is going up here, so maybe not. Darn it. Maybe not. It's not the end of the world. That's way too big. This arm would be much more interesting. I almost wish the arm was going the other way. This arm's way too big, although I do like it. I don't know if it's gonna fit into, it could, I don't know. I might save that for another collage. This is way too big. This works better. I'm just not sure if it's very interesting. Okay. I'll keep doing some more cutting and see if I come up with anything else. For this small collage is focus on that focal point. This is going to be the focal point, and I was just trying to find a new head for her. I have the contemporary magazines all around me, but I want to go into something that is not contemporary. I want to maybe find something from this vintage book, and I think I may have this little folk creature. So, I don't know if it'll work. Just playing. I have some other ones I was thinking about also. That could work. That's kind of interesting. Let me finish cutting it out. And inevitably going through other magazines and books in my collection here at the studio, I found other images that I may want to incorporate for this project. Actually, I kind of like the way that looks. Just a little absurd. Even overlap it here. Nah, can't overlap it. Doesn't look that great. I also have some images I dog-eared in the book because they were black and white. And I like black and white being obviously a perfect foil for color. I always look on the back before I start cutting to see if there's anything that I might adore. This is great. If I cut this, I'm cutting into this. How badly do I want it? I was looking at that. Keep it in mind. See, that almost fits perfectly. That's why I liked it. So I will cut it. Yeah, gonna do it. Just do the cuts. Everything there. Like the crown. I'm cutting a little bit into it there. No deal. Yeah, it's too bad that had to go. Really nice composition. Might be able to salvage some of it for another collage, like a corner. It won't be a focal point, but I'll just leave it in this book, and I'll return to it later. I think this may be more interesting than this. It gives it the appearance that it is indeed a focal point. So, continue on cutting. I really don't know the direction this collage is going in, so I am actually back at square one in my mind that I am just cutting now, cutting things out exactly and seeing how they might look. I don't know if I'm going to keep this as my focal point. I'm thinking too hard about it, and when I start thinking too hard about something, I start not having fun, and in the end, it doesn't usually end up as a successful project. I'm looking at this hand. I'm very drawn to this hand because the hand itself was the focal point in the magazine ad. So it could definitely be a focal point on its own. I was tempted at this point where the intersection of the thumb and the pinky finger, I was going to cut there in case I want to place something in that space. But since I don't know if I want to do that, I'm not going to do it until I feel it is necessary. I'm not going to disturb the image any more than I have to, but I am obviously cutting out these more delicate pieces between the fingers to get more ideas and to decide, is it going to be a focal point? I cut out the unicorn and I thought, okay, this and the unicorn would make a good collage together. But as I've been running into in the past couple of collages that I've worked on, I find I have competing focal points and that doesn't always work. So not sure if I'm going to use either one. Okay, I'm at a point now where I can just use my scissors. I don't have to use the X-Acto. Something else I discovered too, when I use the X-Acto knife around fingers, the fingers sometimes look very squared, and I don't like that look because it doesn't look the way our fingers are. I'm just trying to cut them out precisely, but they always end up looking squared when I'm using the X-Acto. That's why I enjoy using the scissors for these curved edges, because I can maintain the integrity of the actual shape then. So just going to cut this hand out and decide what I want to do next. I may need to dive back into the ephemera and pick other things out. The problem right now is that I'm not sure what the focal point is. Once I know what the focal point is, it's easier for me to build, but there's no harm in what I'm doing right now because nothing's being adhered to paper. It's innocent, and it is soothing actually to go ahead and simply cut nice clean images out and play with them and see where they belong, if they belong. The Save Rainbow frame came out really nice. I still have a little bit of a white edge there. I could try and clean it up a little bit more. Probably hard to see. But what I do is I just take the straight edge, put it right up against there, and okay, I think we're good now. Yeah, that cleaned it off pretty well. There's a little bit right here. Let's try to get that out. Okay, just a little nub, actually a red. Okay, it's a little bit of white showing. It might drive me nuts. There we go. Much, much better. This is also calling to be something of a focal point. So I was playing with the unicorn who I cut out carefully. Then I had this hand and I was like, well, this could work. I don't know. I also had the watch that I was playing with at the beginning of the video, and I was like, look guys, look what I did on my own hand, and well, here we are. I have no idea. I don't know what it'll turn into. Otherwise, I don't have too much anything else really much to choose from. I was obviously playing with this earlier, and it was looking kind of interesting, and now I'm just not feeling it. It could work. Off to the side with you. And I remember this at the beginning of the video also, because I thought, oh, it might look good with the unicorn. Maybe, possibly, I don't know. It's different, that's for sure. I think it's either going to be a case of the hand or the unicorn. Here's the bottom line. I'm learning a lot about composition, focal points, and other elements of collage that I've kind of been teaching myself along the way with the help of you all, my wonderful viewers. Thank you again for watching. This collage is going to be finished. I found this wonderful skyscape that isn't too imposing. It actually has a nice muted feel to it, so it's not going to be competing with the strong colors of this rainbow frame and this watch. So I'm getting ready to put it all together. And I also realized my focal point, she doesn't have to have a head. Nothing wrong with that. While I was playing with it, I realized actually I found it to be more interesting if she didn't have one. And because we cut things the way we did, I kind of like how this tucks in where, well, that's where her head should have been. And I think we're going to keep it this way. I'm not sure if I want the leg. I think I do want the leg, the front leg, stepping out. So I think I want it to go along the lines of this. Take a very itty bitty piece of drafting tape to keep it all in place. I think I want a little bit of the sky peeking through right here between the body and the frame. So I'm just going to place this just so to keep it in place while I start working on everything else. And I would like for the watch to be just so. Like it to be something like this. Although I gotta admit, I do not want, you know what, this is fine. Don't have to cut anything really. Something like this. The thing with the watch is that there's going to be quite a bit of space now. Okay, this is what I wanted to do. That's what I was looking for. I wanted some of the sky to peer through here, and I wanted the majority. I wanted the majority of it to be right there. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to grab a little bit more tape to keep the watch in place where I want it. And just an inch or two down right there. So we'll be doing more cutting here in a minute. Or I plan to do more cutting here in a minute. Some more painter's tape. Again, I can't stress it enough. Pull up that adhesive. There is artist drafting tape you can get at art stores, specialty stores, that works way better than this, but this works just as well. You've got to remove the adhesive. You can't just slap it on straight from the roll because you'll rip stuff. And hopefully I don't rip stuff because it still feels really tacky. So I'll just remove as much as I can. And also, you can just barely touch it here. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to slam it down and rub it on and burnish it on so it stays there forever. You may not want that. Okay, and I liked this watermelon. I was going to put that like right here, I think. Or was it like this? I was thinking something along the lines of this because I believe the name of this piece is going to be Balance. Okay. That's what I wanted. Tape everything down. Then I had a little bit of orange, and I was playing with this too, and I was putting it in different areas. I was even doing something like this. I feel like that works. I think I'll do that. And because I wanted to kind of hide that hair, that hair was actually bugging me a little bit where I cut the head off. The hair right here, but I couldn't cut any more without compromising the shape of the body. So I'm going to just place this here. I think that'll make for an interesting element. So I'm going to finish her up in time lapse. honest, I struggled with this one, and I'm not really sure why. I'm learning a lot about myself doing collage and doing this practice and doing it no matter what and staying with something even if I'm not initially happy with it. And I was not initially happy with this piece. What I did do, obviously, I went off camera. I wanted to give it a rest, and I gave it a solid evening night off, and I didn't come in to the studio to look at it until this morning, and I liked it a lot more. And I realized, people don't have to have heads, and focal points can be different things. I'm very happy with the way this collage turned out. I think it's just one of the basic, fun, minimal type collages that I enjoy doing every now and then. And I know that you need to push through. You face these hindrances with your work. Just keep going, and if all else fails, cut out little delicate pieces. You can always use these again in other works. At least you have ephemera to work with ready to go. And if that is something you don't want to do, then watch other people on YouTube, watch other collage artists, see what they're doing. I get so much inspiration from other collage artists out there. So I'm so grateful for YouTube and the internet in general, and people who are generous with their time to show me what they're doing. And I hope I'm returning the favor in some way, shape, or form. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Let me know in the comments what you think of this little piece, and I will see you next time.